Oh,
You know,
Okay, good evening. Welcome to the February 15th meeting of the Finance Committee. We are continuing to have our departmental budget hearings, so we'll continue with those tonight. First up on the agenda, we have the Town Treasurer Collector.
Do you all have a copy of the?
I have it electronically. We might need paper copies.
it's fire department.
No.
yeah.
I'll take one.
I'll take one.
Thank you.
I think Melanie, she told me.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you.
I'm good. Yep, thank you.
All right. So, I'm Pam Aducey, by the way.
Nice to meet
Haven't
you.
met all of you yet. So, basically, I did what I could. I level funded what I could. Some of the salaries went up because two of the union people are on the grid, so they have a step increase this year, so that went up a little. Oh, actually, that didn't go up. I'll have to look into that. Two people have longevity pay this coming year, so that went up a little.
I'm sorry, did you say there's an increase in salary? The one I'm looking at?
I know, I don't know what I did there.
Okay.
There is something on the other. I feel like Melanie helped me with, do you remember?
I wonder if it's just based on what positions were budgeted last year, like maybe Kathy's was more hours or something?
Yeah, but it's the exact same amount.
You can have a copy.
Yeah.
That's okay, we can figure
And,
it.
you know, I might have actually just typed that into both, columns.
Right, because no one in her department right now has a percent increase because none of them are in any contract that's ratified.
Okay.
So
Right, they just have
the
a
only
step.
increase right now would be two people that have step increases, so it probably needs to change slightly.
Okay.
The Medicare went up. I talked to Charlie, and he had suggested I just add 4%. The life insurance went up because that's been underfunded for the previous fiscal years. The police chief gets his life insurance reimbursed through payroll for his contract, so that's always been a line item transfer the last few years. Health insurance went up 6.7 per the GIC. The county retirement, that went up per Plymouth County. And then the debt, there's the debt. And then that's really it that went up.
Okay. I'm sorry. Can you go over the unemployment and all that again? I didn't realize that was at the bottom.
Okay, if I can find it.
Okay, yeah.
So unemployment, I level funded.
Okay.
And then what was your question?
And that's a Medicare, so that whole section, I guess, unemployment through
Oh, okay.
professional services.
Yep, so the Medicare insurance, I talked to Charlie and he suggested I just raise it up 4% because we're not sure what the bills will be. The life insurance has been underfunded previous fiscal years because the police chief gets his life insurance reimbursed through payroll. So that's been underfunded the last few years. Melanie picked up on that. Health insurance went up 6.7% per the GIC. And then the county retirement, that went up $450,000.
Yeah, that's the big one.
the GIC number official, or is that an estimate?
I'm pretty sure
The GIC number, is that
That's-
6.7 official or
No,
estimate?
it was 5%. I think I bumped it to 5%. Did you bump it up one?
no, I did 6.7 because they had sent us an email
Okay.
with it,
Yeah, it's
you know,
not
that
official,
grid's
but,
in there.
I think they're voting the rates next month,
Okay, so that could,
but it's probably what it is.
It
okay.
said on the low
But it-
end was
but a lot
4%.
depends on, it's not a straight 6.7 in the sense of it goes up depending on the plan. So how our employees participate, which plan they are in, may change the overall average percentage increase.
Okay. The letter said low end 4%?
It said on the low end was 4%, on the high end was 8%,
Okay.
so that was like in the middle.
Okay. All right, and the debt is the debt. We didn't have anything major falling off, it didn't look like.
Nope.
Okay. Any questions? We'll take silences.
Well,
Good.
this may be a, can I ask a dumb
Oh, yeah,
question?
no, you can ask any question, please.
Maybe dumb, may not be. So what causes the principal to go up on a couple of these, like the high school construction from 200 to 210?
I think it's just the way the loan
So
was
think
written.
about your home mortgage. Some of our bonds are the same way, in that you start out paying more interest and less principal, and as the loan matures, you're paying more principal.
Oh, I see what
and
you're saying.
interest.
I got you. Okay, thank you.
See, that was a good question.
So the net basically comes out around the same or reduces when you look at the principal and the interest together.
Yeah, that's what-
Okay. Okay, any other questions?
Oh, I see.
Okay, thank
All
you
right.
so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Next up, we have the fire chief.
Did you pass out all the copies?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
So, good evening. My name's Tim Howard, in case I haven't met some of you, which I think I've met all of you. But the budget I'm presenting does not include raises that would be for the fiscal year that we're currently in for the firefighters union. And it doesn't include raises for the budget I'm presenting for next fiscal year for the firefighters union and for my administrative assistant. My salary, my contract was ratified, so my numbers will stay the same. So all the numbers in fire department salaries and additional compensation are gonna go up. What percentage, I don't know yet. But just so we're all clear that the numbers I'm presenting tonight, there's no contracts with this. So
On the the fire salaries, did you say, is it retro for '23?
So the current year, we're not, FY '23 is, they're at a 0% right now because there's no contract.
Okay,
So it'll be retro,
okay.
whatever that percentage is gonna be. And then next year, we'll have to adjust these numbers with whatever their new contract calls for.
Right, okay.
So, I'll break it down into 4 parts. The first, we'll break it down by, the headings that are in bold. So fire department salaries. As I said, my salary, my contract's ratified, we're all set. You'll notice 2 columns, a yellow column, which is the level service, and a green column, which is the department request. The level service contract would call for many of the shifts to go unfilled when the firefighters use their contractual time off. And at a time when we're busier and busier, it just isn't conducive for public safety, not only for the general public, but for my firefighters as well. We've gone on calls, by ourselves for far too many years, and we just can't do that anymore. I was able to get a SAFER grant last year that started on January 8th of this year, that runs for 3 years. It pays 100% of the salaries for 4 new hired firefighters who we now have on board, and it pays for the fringe benefits for the next 3 years at 100% with no match from the town, which is great. So, for salaries, there is a small change. You won't see it on this form, because I just printed this out today, but Karen, you were at the meeting with me a few weeks back. So the administrative assistant, I requested through the Board of Selectmen Monday night that her work hours increase from 37.5 hours per week to 40. It's about a $3,000 and some change increase. And the reasoning for that is because, we actually did a few less calls last year than the year before, but we did more medical calls. And that's a big part of her job, which is EMS billing, where she has to go through every report and, make sure it's grammatically correct and the procedures that were done will be billed. And so she has to go through like 2,050 EMS reports a year. That was last year at least, which is an increase from the year before by about 55, I think, calls. So it's time consuming for her. Plus, starting July 1st, for the entire fiscal year next year, we have to gather information for the Centers of Medicare and Medicaid. They're doing some type of study that we were selectively picked for, as well as many other fire departments in Plymouth County, so it wasn't that selective. They just took the geographical area and say, hey, you guys are doing this. And if we didn't do it, our income for those calls would drop by 10%. So it's well in our interest to do this year-long study. And then after that study is completed, after the 12 months, we have 5 months to compile all the information and send it off to the federal government. And hopefully, in the long run with that, Medicare and Medicaid will realize that they don't pay us enough for the calls that we do, and hopefully that's what they're looking at, to try to increase the amount that they're going to pay for ambulance transports. But who knows? You'll notice with the permanent fire salaries, I actually budgeted in the line item what the actual number really is. So it's $1.784 million, $1,784,148 for 26 firefighters. If you go down to the last line, it says the SAFER grant salary reduction. That's how much we're going to be getting from the federal government. So you take that 1,784 plus the 246, that's what the number would really be for those firefighters. But I tried to separate it out so you could see what the government will actually be paying us through reimbursements for those firefighters. Call firefighter salaries is pretty much stays the same at about $5,000. Last year, I actually forgot to fund that line item, but we worked through it with Melanie. Thank you. Any questions on the salary portion? Super. Additional compensation. I'm gonna really quickly go down just to explain what each line is. It shouldn't take much time. So additional compensation acting out of grade. That's if there's no officer on duty, the senior firefighter becomes the acting officer. They're entitled to bottom step lieutenant's pay. Doesn't happen often, but it happens a couple times a year, so there has to be some funding for that. Additional compensation cover vacation, so that covers all their contractual time off, except for the deputy fire chief, and I have an administrative lieutenant that works, well, supposed to work days. Both those positions, when they're off, their time is not filled with overtime. The only overtime is the 4 groups of 6 that actually go out and run the calls and do the calls. Right now, we were doing it at 5 per group, so when both ambulance were out, we'd have 1 firefighter back, we'd have to recall people to try to maintain at least 2 to respond to the next call. Additional comp cover sick is, I budgeted $15,000. If you notice, the FY '23 actual, that includes the special town meeting transfers, it's at $50,000. It's actually even above that now. It's been a terrible year, the current year we're in, for the fire department with regards to multiple on-the-job injuries. I still have 2 people out, and multiple people who are out long-term with, on sick leave. Hopefully next year, that won't happen again. There will be one that will be going out for some time for a procedure. So I up the sick leave cover just from 10,000, it used to be 10,000, up to 15,000, only because salaries are going up, and apparently the prevalence of illness is going up too. Holiday pay is a 2-part thing, so they're entitled to 13 holidays per year. They get a payment of 6 holidays the first pay period in December, and they're allowed to take off 7 of the 13. So that includes both their payment for those holidays and covering when somebody takes that contractual time off. Additional compensation training, $24,000. This is something I added, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. We never had a training line item. We always tried to do it on duty, and there's just some things that I cannot do on duty. We just got, some new boats, and there's no way to train the department while they're on duty to do that, so they would have to be able to come in on overtime. And there's several training things we do per year that would be more conducive to having people in off duty than on duty, so you don't get, these intermittent training sessions. Additional comp cover military, this is a new one this year. I have a firefighter who's in the Air Force Reserves, and he is unavailable, 1 week a month, 2 weeks a year. That covers some of those shifts. There'll be others that we'll have to drop to 5, because there's really no way for me to budget exactly, when he's gonna have military duty. Hopefully he doesn't get called up, but if he does, we'll deal with that later. Additional comp cover personal days. They're entitled to 28 hours of personal leave per year, so that 36,647, that fully funds that. Callback went from 100,000 to 80,000, because now that we have more people on duty, there'll be hopefully less need to recall people off duty to come in. Additional comp cover OJI. Current year we're in, I actually didn't fund that, and the 25,000 that was transferred at the special town meeting, we're well over that as well. So last year I just put back the $4,000 placeholder. Additional comp other. So there's a pretty significant decrease in this. So it went from $80,510 last year, or the current fiscal year, into $61,000 next year. So part of my salary was paid out of additional comp other for stipend positions that I have as the Director of Emergency Management, Right to Know Law Coordinator, Forest Warden. There's one other hat that I wear, I honestly forget the name of it. So that was put into my salary, so there's a decrease in the additional comp. Additional comp is for the stipends, paramedic stipends, EMS coordinator, maintenance coordinator, things like that. Longevity, obviously has gone up just because as the workforce ages, so doesn't their longevity. Sick leave buyback has gone up because I have an employee retiring next January. One of my top step highest paid employees will be retiring or is notified that he'll be retiring. So we had to fund that line item. Any questions on additional compensation?
Do you know where you're at fiscal year to date on the comp callback?
On callback?
Yeah. Roughly, I mean, the numbers we have unfortunately are only through November.
Yeah, so we're actually in the green right now on callback,
Okay,
which is good.
Right.
Because they needed to cover other stuff.
yeah.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. Anything else?
Because that was gonna go into the 4 groups of 6, that was gonna have the big impact on the callback. line.
Yeah, that's why it was
Yeah,
dropped, so.
okay.
And I dropped it to 80, and I'm not even sure 80 is gonna be the number, it might even be lower. But it depends, so callback's a funny thing, because you can't budget for the unknown. In callback, so what happens with callback is once we deplete our on-duty staffing, we have to recall off-duty firefighters. So if we get a serious motor vehicle accident, that we have to use the JAWS or something like that, we have to recall people. 5 or 6 people sometimes just can't do it. Plus, we still have to cover the rest of the town, so we call back off-duty. Any type of structure fire is a full recall, and I can get anywhere from 1 person to 15 that come in. No rhyme or reason to it. Woods fires, same deal. If it's gonna be a labor-intensive, got to recall people, not only for the fire, but to cover the town for medicals or any other emergency that might come up. So it's there's no way to really budget what that number's gonna be every year. Some years, I'm not sure I've ever exceeded it, but there's many years that it was definitely over budget. I think when I first started 10 years ago, I think our callback line was like $150,000. And we weren't filling some shifts. So I did a look back to say, that's kind of crazy. We're not spending 150, so why wouldn't I just fill shifts and drop the callback down, which is what we did to try to get more firefighters working on shifts to keep the staffing levels up. So this year's kind of a trial year for that callback. We'll see what happens with it. I don't anticipate we'll exceed it, but, if we have a bad winter next year or hurricanes or whatever, who knows? We've had winter storms, blizzards that the firefighters work 48 hours straight. And some of those, that's on overtime. And so there's really no way to gauge that number, so to say. Anything else on?
No, I'm good.
Training, fire department expenses. Training and education. So this is a 2-part thing. This is for tuition reimbursement, and it's also for if I need to hire a company to come in to, do some training that will result in certification or specialty training. Like I'll be doing that next year for the 2 new boats we got. I have a company coming in. It's gonna cost, I think, like $6,000 for this company to come in and train our people, and then they'll be trained on overtime, but that'll be covered in the budget that's being presented tonight. Clothing allowance has gone up only because we added 4 firefighters, and with the retirement that I'll have in January, it's gonna require potentially 3 people being promoted. If they get promoted, they get an extra, I think, $500 that year because their clothing changes. They go from a dark blue shirt to a light blue shirt or potentially a white shirt. Plus, they have to order all their insignias and all that for the uniforms. Repairs and equipment, repair and maintenance equipment, that's for like apparatus and any other equipment we have that, breaks down during the year. I actually upped that $5,000 because these things are just getting more expensive, globally, unfortunately. Repairs and maintenance computer equipment remains flat at $5,000. I pretty much only have a line item for that for like if a PC goes down and I have to get a new one, there's money available to deal with that. Or any other, like if a switch breaks and I have to buy a new switch. Well, Ryan does it for me, the IT director, but it comes out of my budget. Repairs and maintenance communications equipment. That's stayed flat too, that's about $5,000. That happens like if portable radio breaks, portable radio costs $2,000. You gotta buy a new one, that there's $2,000 there, but it also helps with maintaining our current radio system. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, when I'm done here, for a couple of other articles I have. But you'll notice, at the special town meeting last year, I had to add $11,342, and that was because some mice get into our repeater site off Highland Street and destroyed the police and fire department's receiver up there. So like that part of town kind of doesn't have the greatest radio coverage right now on the fire side, not so bad the police side. So those parts have been ordered, and it's just taken a really long time to get them for whatever reason. But you'll notice next year, it went right back down to 5,000. So anytime I'll do like a reserve fund transfer that comes into my budget, I don't consider that my budget next year. I revert back to what it was. Telephone, modest increase, $132, just because I'm sure the price of using cell phones is gonna go up. Office supplies, same deal. Toner cartridges or whatever, and everything's going up in price. Copier pretty much remains the same, and the copier is pretty much once a year, but we have to buy a toner cartridge for like $750, $800, and the rest is, like copy paper or whatever. Fire safety equipment. So that went down from $19,000 to $12,000. The $19,000 from last year, or the current year we're in, was to buy the new firefighters their personal protective structural firefighting gear, which we're able to do, and I was also able to secure a grant through the Department of Fire Services for some of that as well. So that's going back down to the $12,000. I believe it was $15,000 2 years ago, but we can live at 12. Dues membership conferences, that's for my any memberships I belong to, Plymouth County Fire Chiefs, Mass Fire Chiefs, New England Fire Chiefs, International Association of Fire Chiefs. And I go to a conference every year, professional development conference, the end of February, beginning of March every year in Worcester, which is a great learning experience. It's also good for networking with other chiefs and throughout the Commonwealth. And other charges and expenses is just exactly what it is. Anything else that I can't put into a line item. This went up to $18,750 or a $13,750 increase. Next year, you'll notice it'll go back down to 5. The reason for the increase this year is because I have to hire a firm to come in to do a written test for lieutenant, captain, and potentially deputy chief. And then they do an assessment center for those 3 positions as well. And that covers the promotions that I anticipate I'll have next year will be covered by that line item. Any questions on expenses? Super. Ambulance operation. Repair and maintenance equipment, or equipment repair and maintenance. So this covers repairing of our ambulances and any associated medical equipment that's in an ambulance. Most of the stuff we have in the ambulances have warranties. I always buy an extended warranty on the durable equipment, like the monitors, or we have CPR machines, because they're very expensive. They're very expensive to replace, and they're very expensive to fix. Most of those I got through a federal grant, so it didn't really cost the town a dime. Eventually, the grant will run out, and we'll have to re-up the agreements, but it's not going to be this year. But it did increase by $2,000 just because like about everything else, the cost of everything is increasing. The billing service is going up $7,000 to $48,000, only because we're bringing in more money. So like I've probably said at every finance committee for the past 10 years, of all the line items you want to see increase in my budget, it's the ambulance billing line item. So we get charged 4% for any billing that we receive. Any payment we receive, the billing company takes 4%. We're on track next year to bring in about $1.2 million in ambulance billing. 4% of that is $48,000. Supplies office, just a minimal $500. It's just a placeholder, really. in case we have to buy any type of office supplies that have to do with ambulance. And that also goes into what we call a CPE program that my administrative assistant puts together every year, which it's a pretty good size packet of information that Centers for Medicare, Medicaid require. And we can prove that we have, we didn't bring enough money, or, we had to pay X amount of money to maintain this or whatever, and they will reimburse us. So I forget last year what it was, and you probably don't remember. I think it was upwards of $55,000 extra we got in from ambulance billing through Medicare, because they kind of underfunded us and everybody else throughout the whole year. I mean, it's not a huge amount of money, but every dollar helps. Ambulance and software licenses, so that's the licenses for our AmbuPro, which is our EMS reporting software. It also covers all CPR, EMT, basic EMT paramedic recertification cards every 2 years, advanced cardiac life support, pediatric advanced life support. Anytime the firefighters have to recertify, the contract says the town pays for that. So it comes out of that ambulance and software licenses. And ambulance supplies, out of all the things, is the greatest increase, and I don't ever see that number ever coming down. It's only going up. We've already depleted the $35,000 we budgeted this year. It's gone. And it's only February. And we put, I think, $8,000 more into that for some some new defibrillators I had to buy, because 3 of ours had to be replaced. And we're kind of cutting into that now, so I have to come up with an ingenious way of trying to refund that through the budget that I have, which hopefully I'll be able to do. Any questions on ambulance operation? The problem is, in the past, we used to get things 1 for 1. So we'd go to a hospital, we use IV supplies or saline bag. They would give us 1 for 1. Hospitals don't want to do that anymore because it costs them money. And then South Shore Hospital just sends me a letter 2 or 3 weeks ago saying, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to start charging you for medications. So if we transport to the South Shore Hospital and give medications, they're now going to bill us for the medications we gave. They're going to give us the medication back, but they're going to bill us for it too. It was a nominal fee for us because we don't go there a lot with patients we have to medicate. But now with Brockton Hospital being down, where we used to exchange 1 for 1, 0 fee, even though we have a medical control agreement or an affiliation agreement with Brockton that says they can charge us, they haven't yet. They probably will down the line. I'm sure they'll give us more than 3 weeks' notice, unlike the South Shore Hospital. So I don't really know where that's going to go for the remainder of the fiscal year, because we're doing a lot of transports there. And there's a couple of medications that are very expensive, and if we use them and go there, we're going to get billed for them. But none of those I call them like an unfunded mandate, but the state didn't do it this time, the hospital did. But hey, they're in the same boat everybody else is in. They're trying to cut costs as well, and I understand, but it is what it is.
I was going to ask, do you anticipate, not knowing, nobody knows what's going on with Brockton, if that remains closed indefinitely or for an extended period of time, could that impact your operating costs with?
So it already is impacting my operating costs now, because now we're transporting to South Shore, which is not that far away, the Good Samaritan, which isn't that far away. But we're also going to the Morton and Taunton, BI Plymouth. And from what I understand, anybody who works for Brockton Hospital and has Brockton Hospital insurance has to be seen at a Beth Israel Hospital. So I either go south to Plymouth or north to Boston. I'd rather go south to Plymouth. But that ties that ambulance up for a considerable length of time.
Right.
And if I have another medical, and I only have one other guy back, then it's more up to recall. When they were at the Brockton, I could just call them, or dispatch would call them, respond to such and such, and they're only 6 minutes away.
Right.
Yeah. The last I heard from my medical director is, the Brockton Hospital ER may be open sooner than they originally anticipated. There is significant damage at the Brockton Hospital for what occurred there. And it's all electrical, and all that has to be replaced. I mean, the fire occurred in the electrical room in the basement, and from my understanding, they had panels on the 5th floor that were smoking. So any wire they went from A to B, that all has to come out and be replaced. But the last thing I heard was the ER and half the hospital wasn't affected as bad, so they're working, I think, the quickest they can to try to reopen and get a satellite pharmacy for us too. Like exchanging meds for us right now is not a big deal for Proctor, but I just call them the medical director. They set it up. We'll go with get together with the pharmacy and exchange meds. So we'll still be able to do that to Proctor for expiring medications, rather than have to go to another hospital we might have to pay. I'm not all about paying for medicine. I don't want to do that, but it is what it is. So as far as getting that hospital open, I don't know the timeline. After that incident occurred, probably the next day, we had a rather large meeting with the medical director and some other members of the hospital staff, and they were saying it could be an extended period of time. Knowing people on Brockton Fire, that extended period of time could have been 2 to 3 years. So that's been scaled back a little bit for part of the hospital. But I haven't had an update since, because my medical director's in Argentina. So hopefully when he returns, we'll have another meeting and kind of get more of an idea of when they might reopen at least part of the hospital.
Right.
At least the emergency room.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I got an email the other day from, or a text from the Plymouth County Controller, which does all our mutual aid, that, Good Samaritan's at capacity. If you go transport by ambulance or a walk-in, it's gonna be an extended wait. They can't not take you, but that doesn't mean they have to take you right away. You might be there for a while. So, yeah, it's having an impact across the entire region. And if you happen to know any politicians or whatever, I mean, Brockton Hospital is a necessary hospital for this region. To lose Brockton Hospital, I don't know what it would do to this region. It would be a serious drain and a strain on us, strain on South Shore, Good Samaritan, Morton, BI Plymouth. Brockton Hospital, I mean, Brockton EMS, just the city of Brockton, they transported 11,500 patients there last year to the ED. And then they transport another 11,500 to Good Samaritan. So 23,000 patients just in the city of Brockton alone are going to those 2 hospitals. And now one's gone. And every other town around here goes to Brockton. If I had a problem, would want to go to the Brockton. But
Okay.
hopefully still come up with a plan sooner rather than later, but I can't comment on that because I don't know, because the last update I had is probably now 10 days old.
Okay, thank you.
To try to offset some of the increases, even though overall the budget decreased this year from next year from last year due to the SAFER grant. But because I want to maintain that the minimum staff, not the minimum, maintain staffing at 6 firefighters 24/7, except for extended on-the-job injury or extended sick leave, is why I'm requesting that we fund more of the contractual time off. And to help alleviate some of that, we can easily take another $40,000 from the ambulance receipts reserved account to help offset that. And we're bringing in about 1.05 to 1.1 million this year. There's no big ticket items for town meeting that's going to require ambulance receipts to help, like a new ambulance. It's $400,000, but we're not doing that this year. In fact, I don't think it's on the list for like 2 years. Before I actually say that, let me just double check, because I do have a 5-year capital plan as well. Yeah, ambulance 2's scheduled for replacement fiscal year 26. And we're going to 24, so we got 2 years. And I'm pretty positive that ambulance calls aren't gonna go down. They only went down during COVID. And we lost about 330,000 in revenue, but the federal government I had to do a report on that, and it showed that we lost $330,000 in revenue, which I was able to get an ambulance through the opera. Because of that money we lost, that was gonna buy the newest ambulance we have, so opera funds bought that. Any questions on the budget? Okay. So I just have a couple of things just to go over real quick, for the special and annual town meetings. And I'm sorry, you know what, I didn't make copies of this. I apologize. I didn't think about it until just now. One of them is to transfer $30,000 from the ambulance receipts reserve appropriation to cover sick leave. That was for $30,000. And it says this article may not be needed for the entire amount, will depend on when the SAFER grant becomes active. So now that the SAFER grant became active about 5 or 6 weeks earlier, I have to rerun the numbers to see where we're gonna be at. There's a transfer in here within budget at the special that doesn't really matter. And there was another one that I think we just met to discuss a reserve fund transfer for the microwave dish for the radio
Oh, yeah, we
system.
voted on
So that was on the special, but that's gone.
Okay.
So one of the bigger ones for the ambulance receipts for the special is to transfer $94,667 from ambulance receipts reserve appropriation to the fire department radio system upgrade. So what I'm doing is, we have, even with our newest radio system, the fire department has some dead spots in town. Police, they don't, because they're digital, and digital has a much wider range of communication, where fire is analog, and the farther away you get, the harder it is to hear what someone's saying, because it's not taking real words and putting it into like little I/O packets and sending it out. So so we gave our old analog channels to the DPW. We're taking that back. We're making that a digital channel, and we're gonna pretty much marry the two channels that we currently have. One will be digital, one will be analog, but they're gonna be like patched together. So any towns around us that come in, they're gonna be analog, but for us on a day-to-day basis, we'll be digital. One of the concerns I have is, we're in the basement of a house, we call a Mayday, and having lived through one of those 10 years ago, or 12 years ago, it's not a warm feeling. And if I don't hear a Mayday, somebody potentially dies, firefighter. Can't have that. So I got a couple of test radios from Industrial Communications for digital. And we've tested it 8 ways to Sunday. And one of our biggest concerns was if we're wearing a scat mask and we sound like this, is it gonna be able to pick up your voice and transfer that out as a voice? And it did. There was some concern or questions out there from other fire services around the country that if you're in an air mask, then your voice is distorted, the radio won't be able to pick up what the voice really is, and it'll just send out like this scrambled signal. We tested that and didn't find that to be occurring. So I'm very comfortable that we'll be able to not only increase our range of radio usage, but also increase the safety of the firefighters operating at an emergency scene. Worst case scenario, if there is distortion, they're gonna switch to channel 2, which is just a non-repeated channel that everyone in the fire ground will be able to hear. But this is gonna be huge for us, because it happens more often than not that dispatchers say, can you repeat the message? You were broken up. I mean, on a daily basis. This is gonna alleviate that. It'll be over. There won't be any dead spots. So, and then we're gonna get a new business channel for the DPW. And this will also reprogram all police, fire, and DPW radios in the town.
So the 94,667 takes care of the
All of it.
DPW's level.
It takes care of fire department digital radio, DPW's new channel, and radio reprogram for fire, police, and DPW. But it also It's gonna upgrade all the radio consoles in the fire and police departments. It's gonna give us a redundant transmit receive site. So right now, our only transmit receive site is at the West Bridgewater Tower at 104 and 24 and 106. It's 400 feet in the air, which is great. But if you're at Robbins Pond in the basement trying to talk out, it's not making it. Digital, it will. Don't know why, it just does. It's been proven. So that's the main thing. Plus, now we're very reliant on industrial communications to maintain our radio network. We were, back when Chief Cowan was chief, we teamed up together and bought this system for about $450,000. I don't know if anyone, I don't know if you're on FinCom at the time.
No.
But we took we were in fiscal straits then, and we ended up taking $225,000 from the Ames account to get the ball rolling to do it, and the town picked up the other half. And through the years, we've done some upgrades to it, and one of the problems we had in the years past, we didn't upgrade to a point where it just failed, and then we decided we were gonna just go full bore with this. And it's worked out really well. So all that stuff is ours, but it's housed at industrial communication sites. This will allow us to, if we wanted to, take all that stuff out, put it someplace else. This digital channel, I don't want to say where it's gonna be. It'll be at a different location in town, separate from where the police fire currently are now. So if that system failed, worst case, fire still works, police can come over to our channel until that's repaired. Everyone can still talk.
Right.
Which is the most important, that's it. The whole purpose of this is, if you are in a crisis, you're a police officer, firefighter, you're in crisis, you talk on your radio, it has to work. It has to. There's just no other alternative. This will make it redundant, so we'll have that ability. Sorry, I can get talking all day about it.
No, that's okay.
For the annual town meeting, there's a transfer that we've done every year since we bought the tower truck to repay the capital. This year, it's gonna be $133,609.55. And then next year, it'll be the final payment of the $125,000. I was gonna do both this year, but with the real uncertainty of ambulance supply, EMS supplies, and Brockton Hospital being down, I didn't wanna, I might have to dip into that. I didn't wanna, I don't like zero in that line. I like to keep a $250,000 to $300,000 in there. So God forbid, we told it an ambulance, and they had a demo available. It's a matter of a special town meeting, bam, done, I get it.
Right.
And we're not down a truck. There's another one for the transfer $8,523.87 from the ambulance receipts account to purchase 3 AEDs for the police department. So they also have 3 AEDs that are aging that need to be replaced. And I thought it'd be prudent for them to just come out of the ambulance account anyways. We supply them like the defib pads and batteries anyway, so it's like, well, we're the EMS people, we'll just buy them, and we'll do this. We do the same for like the library. When we charge the library, but we buy them for the library, and they pay us, so to say.
Okay.
And that's it for ambulance receipts. There is one other article, but it's gonna be through capital or free cash, I'm not sure which, for $149,500, and that's to replace 23 sets of structural firefighting PPE, or the gear we use to go into building fires. They're only good for 10 years. Many of the sets are approaching 10 years. And we're also gonna get 28 sets of non-structural firefighting gear. So your woods fires, car accidents. So the problem we have right now, I don't know if you saw it in the news, but a lot of structural firefighting gear contains PFAS. PFAS is a man-made chemical that never goes away, that's a known carcinogen that causes cancer in the fire service. So any way I can limit them having to wear that gear on every single call they go on and prevent them from potentially getting cancer, I feel as though that's my job to do that. So we're gonna have 2 sets of gear. One that you'll strictly use for going into a burning building, and the other one you'll use for everything else that doesn't contain PFAS. And that's all I have for you tonight. Not bad. Did it in 15 minutes. Sorry, it wasn't 15 minutes, I know.
No, no, you're fine.
It's always a half hour at least. Any questions? Nothing. So, when I do go to capital, I have something on capital to hire a consultant to do some renovations at the fire station.
Good.
And what I want to do is pick some Saturday morning where most of us are available, and I'd like to have the finance committee and the capital needs committee come in and take a tour of the fire station, kind of put eyes on what I'm talking about, because if you've never been in there, you're not going to know what I'm talking about. But half the second floor is unfinished. The building was built in '67. Apparently, the last dollar was spent down the stairway, and that's where it stopped. So with the addition of, so when I started working in '96 full-time, we had 3 people on a shift. Now we have 6, plus a chief, plus a deputy, plus a lieutenant, plus an administrative assistant working days.
Plus women.
There's 10 people there. There's 2 bathrooms and 1 shower. And 3 of those firefighters are women. So they're entitled to some type of privacy. So anyways, when I meet with capital, I would like us to come in and just kind of put eyes on what I'm talking about so you can kind of get a better feel of what I'm looking to do. And go from there.
I think it's a good idea.
I did too.
I know Scott Allen did a few years back when he renovated downstairs.
Oh, yeah, yep.
So I think it would be prudent for everyone to kind of see what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
Charlie, you've seen what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. It's- There's a lot of open space. Karen, you saw it.
Yeah.
Karen saw it too. A lot of open space up there that right now is just used for storage and
Ineffective.
some junk that is very useful to house people. And give separate locker rooms for the men and women, and separate bathrooms for the men and women. So, all right, very good.
Everyone's good, no
Thanks,
questions?
Chief.
I'll just make a comment. I think it's good that you break out the SAFER grant, because eventually when that goes away, it'll kind of need to be rolled into the budget, right?
No, we have a plan for that.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Good.
So with the amount of building that's going on in this town, in the northeast and northwest sections of town, you won't even notice it. You won't. But what you will notice is if the call volume goes up, I might come back and say, we need 4 more people. And if I do that, we're probably gonna need a satellite fire station as well. So, a couple weeks back, I know you guys wanna get out of it, so do I. A couple weeks back, we had a dam levee type break
Oh, yes.
at Robbins Pond.
Oh, yeah.
It flooded Robbins Pond, it brought the water level up about 2.5, 3 feet. Pond Street's closed, well, was closed. To get to the other side of Pond Street or Samokin Pines, 13 to 16-minute ride. To get that whole other side of Hudson Street, Paris Farm Road, Pine Ridge Drive, 13 to 16-minute ride. You got a cardiac arrest out there?
That's
Hate to
too
say
much.
what's gonna happen. Hopefully someone's doing CPR on you. If we had a station in the northwest section of, northeast section of town off of Central Street where the town owns some land, and they're putting in all these housing units up there anyways, in commercial, it would be wise in the future to potentially build a station that would house 2 firefighters with an ambulance and an engine. They're 4 minutes away from that entire neighborhood. So the odds of saving a life, rescuing someone from a fire, greatly increased. We have an automatic gate agreement with the town of Halifax, but they have less staff than we have, and if they're unavailable, they're unavailable. The road's since been opened, so we're back to status quo, but it's still it's an 8-minute ride for us. It's a long way out. And same thing with Oak and Franklin, that whole area. That's a long ride for us. The station isn't centrally located in this town. It's kind of where the town grew.
Over here.
In the 1600s, this is where it was, and so, But anyways, talk for another time. Might not be me that's doing it, though. Anyways, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And if you need me to come back when the contract's are settled or whatever, I'm more than willing to do that.
Okay.
Just let me know.
Okay, we appreciate it.
No worries.
Okay, we were going to have police tonight, but that's been moved to the 28th. So that will be a busy night because we'll have police and DPW, which are both pretty heavy presentations. Next week, we meet on Tuesday, the 21st. We have EBCAM, IT, building planning, library, and conservation is on the list to come and present. I was going to ask the committee, I was liaison for conservation. It's pretty strict. There might be like a 25-cent change. It's nothing major, so if the committee doesn't have an objection, I'd like to just all present their budget, not make them come in, okay. Conservation, yeah. Okay, so we have that. We also got, in the mailbox, we had received a letter from Norfolk County Aggie dated February 10th that they're held its Board of Trustees meeting on February 8th, and it was tuition rates for 23-24. They have raised, or they're out there, their tuition rate is $26,355. Out of county, if it's special education, is an additional $5,400. They're stating that we have 6, 8, 9 students that are there. So Lisa and I did meet with the schools last Friday. So I'm sure they got the same letter, but we'll just make sure that they got it. So just wanted to point that out, that we received that. We did get minutes. Karen forwarded out the minutes to everyone. If we had a chance to review them, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the February 6th meeting.
Motion?
Seconded.
Second by George. Any question, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. So we'll get those on file with the town clerk. Charlie or Melanie, any updates or anything you want to?
No, not at this point.
Okay. That was a deep thought. Okay.
Are all our future meetings going to be in here? Because the notification went out that it was upstairs. Not that I mind walking upstairs and coming back down.
No. I'll double check with Rebecca where they're at.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure what's going on with the
Okay.
scheduling, but we'll send out a note before next Tuesday to
Okay.
confirm. Any other questions, open discussion from anyone on the committee?
So I know in the meeting, with the school, they were gonna look to push town meeting, did that?
So I believe that came up Monday night at the selectmen's meeting. We also received an email, I was on it with Charlie yesterday from the superintendent, that they will not require any additional time.
Oh, okay,
They've-
good,
So,
Good.
yeah, town meeting should stay the same on May 8th,
perfect.
of which I'll just let everyone know, the bank I work for, we are converting our online banking system, and May 8th is the date on which we are doing that, so I will
Oh,
not be at
boy.
town meeting.
Dave is also away,
Dave is away, okay, so
so
we will have another well-established representative from the committee that will represent us. We will figure that out. But we'll have everything all organized and good to go. Maybe by that point of the evening, I'll be free, but I'm assuming not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You know how conversions go. Yeah, so, okay. Any other questions? If not, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Any second?
Seconded.
Second, discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned, thank you.